Northern Ireland is a really traumatized country, and I think a lot of people, even still there, who live there now, like, they almost have this like generational trauma, and I think a lot of people take it out on others, especially men. And I was told that I was queer before I knew what queer was. I was told that I was other, even like as a small child. Like, I grew up in Northern Ireland with an English accent, so I was told I didn't belong there. And that's when I really started to think, I think I might be trans. But my relationship with my mum was quite difficult at the time, because my mum was accepting of me being gay, but she said to me, if you were ever to say that you're trans to me, I'd kill myself.
I feel like sometimes it takes just a little bit of education, because sometimes people who are either hateful or ignorant or uneducated is only because they've met anyone trans, and they have this image from media or whatever they've heard. And I feel like sometimes they need to be educated, and they need to learn a little bit, and then just realized, yes, it is hard for us, but it's possible, and the life gets more beautiful after the transition. Can you tell me what femininity means to you?
And took some photos of him in them, and I posted them on Twitter and on Instagram, and I had clients straight away booking in, and I was like, shit, there's something here. There's like a real need for it. So I thought, right, well, let's roll with this, see what happens. And I very quickly realised that people really needed it. But then I learned that it was a bit more of a boys' world. I think it's changed nowadays, but back then it was very, very much a boys' world, and that put me off a little bit. And then as I got into drag, because I did drag when I was younger.
We have so much in common.
And actually, my business, I don't really focus on the clothes as much. It's more about like the whole package. And it's about like you said, helping people with makeup, helping people feminize themselves, and whether someone's at the start of their transition and they are completely and utterly clueless, or someone's quite far in and they're like, girl, I'm just really struggling to put eyelashes on. You know.
What would you say is the ratio of crossdressers and trans women in your studio? I would even say the power of hormones, because sometimes I just feel so feminine even without makeup. And I feel like sometimes the hormones do work for themselves. But sometimes people who can't either afford hormones or can't do hormones for medical reasons, or don't want to go, or don't want to choose that path of transition, makeup is really, really helpful and gender affirming, and it really helps you mentally to feel good in your own skin and to feel confident and leave the house and just feel pretty and feel like a woman. You know, some trans women have no clue about makeup, and I think it's so important to have a service that is there for them, to teach them how to, you know, once they leave your studio, your business, and they go home, they know what to do for their face, they know what to apply, they have the know-how, they know tips and tricks, and then they can practice it and do it every single day at home. They can improve. There's a reason that lots of cis women love makeup, you know. If you ask them why, they will tell you exactly the same thing as trans women.
Yeah, literally. I live in Manchester. You should see the girls in Manchester. They are glam as hell. It's basically they're walking down the high street looking like drag queens, and I absolutely live for it.
Yeah, it's similar to Liverpool. Because when I was in Liverpool, I had a culture shock. Hello everyone, welcome back to Transcratch, the podcast where every single week we dive deep into lives, stories and experiences of trans women. I'm your host Pavi, and I'm so glad you are watching. Thank you so much for your support, it means so much. Our today's guest is Patti Baston, a trans makeup artist based in Manchester and the founder of Wow Galz, which is her feminization makeover company that she started in 2009. And with over 15 years in the industry, she now works full-time in her own studio, offering makeovers for everyone from crossdressers to trans women. And I'm so happy that she is here in the studio with us today. Hi, Patti. Welcome to Transcrash.
Hello, darling. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to have a chance to speak about what I do on your podcast.
Thank you. So I have a little tradition here on the podcast, which is a question: what makes you happy? So, what makes you happy, Patti?
What makes me happy? Beautiful smells make me happy.
Same.
And I have to say that in the studio today, it smells absolutely gorgeous. I think it was one of the first things I said to you when I arrived. Like, what is that smell? It's lovely. And it's like, I feel like I'm in a spa, in a beautiful luxury spa. It's gorgeous. And there's a giant lemon across the room from me as well that I'm kind of looking at. So maybe we're in like some kind of Mediterranean spa is the vibe that I'm getting. So yeah, we spoke off camera about my star sign. I'm a Taurus. And I like to surround myself with like soft furnishings and like nice smells and beautiful things. So I think that's definitely something that I love and that makes me really happy. Like I'm a whore for a hotel room.
Yeah.
I love hotels, really fancy posh hotels. Even just going and sitting in them, being in one that I can't afford to stay in, being like, this is lovely.
Yeah.
I love luxury.
Yeah. I would say Taurus people usually you like the quality, good texture, good materials, good smells.
Literally.
Yeah.
That. And I'm also stubborn as hell.
Yeah.
Well, that.
Taurus.
Yeah, literally. Before we get properly started, I want to address the elephant in the room that is my voice.
Yeah.
For those of you listening at home, I was quite poorly the other week and I lost my voice completely. And thankfully, I can now talk again. So if I'm sounding a little bit extra gravelly,
you sound sexy.
Thank you.
It's okay.
That's what we're going for. Yesterday, my friend said that I sound like I could be auditioning for like a show where the person's really sad. It's kind of like, really, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I was late today, but I tried to get here on time. And that's what she said I sound like. But it's better today. So yes, just wanted to address it.
Well, thank you so much for coming here after your illness or being sick.
Yes.
I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, as long as you can talk.
I can talk.
I don't care how you sound.
Great.
As long as you can share your story here with us.
Of course.
So you grew up in Northern Ireland.
I did, yes.
How was it like growing up in Northern Ireland?
So for my backstory, I grew up, born and raised in Northern Ireland to my father and my mum, who are both English. My dad was in the army. So we travelled around a little bit. So I was born in Northern Ireland, moved away, went to like Belgium, went to the south of England, but settled back in Northern Ireland, and I moved to England when I was 18. And it was character building, I think to say, growing up in Northern Ireland. Do you know much about Northern Ireland?
I've been there.
I've been
to Derry. Okay. I've been to the Giant's Causeway. Okay. Belfast.
Yeah. Did you do like the history, delve into aspects of like the Troubles and things like that?
Yeah, I think our guide on the bus.
Yeah.
When we were driving, he was just telling us all about.
Yeah, it's really
the
fascinating.
Division and
Northern Ireland is a really traumatized country, and I think a lot of people, even still there, who live there now, like. They almost have this like generational trauma, and I think a lot of people take it out on others, especially men. And really interesting, I was watching a TikTok about this the other day, and I was like, yes, bitch, yes. I can swear, can't I?
You can swear as much as you like.
And this woman was talking about like this generational trauma throughout a lot of men and like the heightened masculinity in Northern Ireland. And I think that especially like I moved away from there about 15 years ago, so potentially it's changed now, but for me I experienced a lot of like toxic masculinity towards me and a lot of fucking, like a lot of us, like a lot of bullying, a lot of stuff like that. But I think it was very informative on me as a person now, and as like the character that I have now, and the kind of resilience that I have as well. Growing up, I went to quite a nice school, to be fair. It was a good school, but every day, it was sort of relentless. And I was told that I was queer before I knew what queer was. I was told that I was other, even like as a small child. Like I grew up in Northern Ireland with an English accent, so I was told I didn't belong there. So even before people knew that I was queer, or I came out as trans, like I was already being told, no, you're not okay, you don't belong, you don't fit in. And then I went to secondary school and I came out as originally as gay first, and it was like, okay, well now you doubly don't fit in here. And it is what it is. Like you find your own tribe amongst all of that, and luckily I think when I was a little bit older, before I moved away, I was able to like find my niche, find my friends, and find queer people around me who could really embrace me and like look after me and make me feel validated in the person that I am. But for a long time, it was really shit.
Did you have lots of queer friends in school?
I had one queer friend in school. Funnily enough, obviously there was a lot of queer people in my school. Like my school was an all-boys school, so there were no girls around.
Yeah.
But my best friend, who's still my closest friend to this day, Anton, we were really, really close in school, and we kind of had each other's backs. And then when I moved away from Belfast, he moved to London, and I went to Manchester. But we're still close now. He lives in Manchester again now.
Yeah. When was the point when you realized you were trans?
Oh God, I don't know that there was ever really like a defining moment. It was when I was really little. I always knew I was different. I always knew I was attracted to masculinity from a really, really young age. But I didn't know that it was an attraction thing. It was just like an interest in it. But I have two older sisters who were both incredible, lovely, and really supportive of me. But when I was really little, I think I kind of dabbled in my transness, as if that's the right phrase, through the idea of wanting to be more like my sisters. Like, this is a funny story. When I was really young, I ended up going to hospital because I got do you remember those stick-on earrings?
Yeah.
I got a stick-on earring stuck down my ear, and I had to go to hospital to have it taken out. And the surgeon said, "What were you doing putting on earrings?" And I said, "Because I wanted to be more like my sisters." So there was another occurrence when I was really young where I fainted because I was trying to shave my legs. And I cut my legs shaving. And I was probably about 5 because I was like, well, this is what girls do. You know, girls shave their legs. And again, we're stereotyping here. Not all women shave their legs.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I saw my sisters shaving their legs. So I thought, well, obviously, because that's me. Like, I should be doing that. But then it was always being reinforced. Well, no, you're a boy, so you shouldn't be shaving your legs. Or you're a boy, so you shouldn't be putting press-on earrings on. So at that point, there were already these like murmurings and these like thoughts that, I think I am actually, there's something going on, but I didn't know what trans was. So I didn't have the words to express it. But then as I got older and I started like hearing about transness and things like that, I was like, maybe that's me. When I was growing up and I didn't really know what trans was, it wasn't until then when I actually just like discovered what trans people were and everything. And by that point, I was surrounded by like my best friend Anton, who I mentioned, and then at that point my friend Carl as well. The two of them and like at this point as well, we'd all come out as gay, and we were living as gay men.
And how old were you?
I was probably about 16.
Okay.
And the two of them loved makeup, and they loved everything like really feminine. And Carl always, like from very, very, very young, was wearing makeup. And at first it really frightened me, and I was really like, I don't like this. But then I started getting really interested in it, really, really obsessing with it. And then it was like I had all the colours from the colouring box just thrown on me, and I really, really went in on it. And I was wearing lots of makeup, like dressing in really, really femme clothes. And that's when I really started to think, I think I might be trans. But my relationship with my mum was quite difficult at the time because my mum was accepting of me being gay, but she said to me, if you were ever to say that you're trans to me, I'd kill myself. And so I was like, right, okay, let's box that up, put that to the back of my head because that ain't something we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And I literally just didn't think of it for about another 10 years. So I think that like my teenage years, I started thinking about, oh God, I might be trans. I think I might want to transition. But
and then you couldn't because of your mum.
Yeah.
And then so you were suppressing it, obviously, because you didn't want anything bad happen to
literally,
your mum.
Yeah. And thankfully, whenever I did come out, she didn't kill herself.
Yeah.
I laugh about it now because it was really, really horrible at the time. But I have the closest relationship with my mum, and it's really multi-layered and complicated. And I don't want anyone listening to this to think that my mum is a bad person for saying that, because she isn't. She was just being really honest and saying, I can't deal with this. I don't know how to deal with that. I can't cope with it. So if that did happen, I'd need to go. It wasn't about her being unaccepting of trans people. It was more of a, I can't deal with my one son transitioning. And cut forward to now. Folks, and I have, and she's cool, and she's great, and we get on the house of fire, and she's super, super supportive.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it takes just a little bit of education, because sometimes people who are either hateful or ignorant or uneducated is only because they've met anyone trans and they have this image from media or whatever they've heard.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes they need to be educated and
totally.
They need to learn a little bit, and they've just realized, yes, it is hard for us, but it's possible.
Yeah.
And the life gets more beautiful after the transition.
Yeah, totally.
At this point, you were 26 when you came out as trans.
I was 28.
28.
Yeah. When I came out, I really, it was through lockdown was the thing really that so I had at this point, I have to kind of go through the whole thing to tell the story because it's all relevant. So I started my business in 2019, my makeover business. And whenever I started that, I was presenting and living as a gay guy. And I had stopped at that point wearing makeup. I'd stopped like presenting femme in any way. Although I say that, sometimes I'm like, oh, I started presenting really masculinely. I didn't. I had like a curly mustache and I had like green hair and all sorts. So I still looked a bit wonky, but
typical makeup artist boy.
Yeah, literally.
I was the same.
Yeah. But still, I'd started this business because for a whole bunch of different reasons. But when we went into lockdown in the UK, and all of a sudden I had no clients, but I needed to be putting content out there of of my work and of feminization stuff. So I started doing makeup again on myself. I started putting the wigs that I'd got for my clients on myself and the clothes. And I was like, I've missed this. It's fun, everything. And I was in a relationship at the time with this great guy who was really supportive of it as well. And he was like, you look amazing. So we went out a couple of times dressed up and stuff. And I really realized at that point that I was missing that from my life. And the first lockdown, I kind of explored around. And when we went into the second lockdown in 2021, that's when I started like, it wasn't just a case of, oh, I'll put on some makeup to take some photos. It was like, I'm putting on makeup again every day. And then all of a sudden I'm going to Sainsbury's in a dress and I'm, with my mask on as well, on my wig. But when Boris announced the road out of lockdown, I shit myself because I thought I'm gonna have to go back to reality. And reality at the time was me living as a man. I was like, I can't do that. And I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to actually do something about this. And yeah, that's when I sort of came out. I think I was like, I need to transition because I'd suppressed something for so long, and I am leaving out little chunks of the whole story here, but that was like the timeline. It was Boris Johnson being like, we need the road out of lockdown, and then I was like, I need a road map out of being a man. and I got it, and I started my transition. Then when I was 28. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we mentioned femininity and we mentioned makeup a lot. Can you tell me what femininity means to you?
Oh, I'd love to. Femininity means everything to me. I think there is so much power in femininity. To me, it is it's everything soft, delicate, but also everything powerful and strong. And it's femininity is about the freedom to express yourself. And not to say that masculinity isn't about expressing yourself, but I think usually it's about expressing yourself in a slightly more beautiful way. And it's hard to define like what femininity is for me, but I think it's a very important thing. And our society historically has demonized anything to do with femininity. And I think it's because it's frightening and scary for so many people because there is so much strength in it. I think masculinity, again, we're talking stereotypically here, is anger. And when you say strength, it's strength through like physical strength.
Violence.
And again, I'm being quite stereotypical here, and not delving into the real depths of everything, but generally that's what we think of it as being, and but actually I think that femininity is more emotionally intelligent, and that's why at the end of the day, there's never been a war started by a woman, and because women think a little bit more, and people will often say that men aren't men are less emotional than women. So I think actually that men are a lot more emotional than women, and the masculinity can be a lot more emotional, but it's just very linear. And it's like, it is about violence and anger and stuff like that, whereas femininity is more about beauty and passion and love.
Yeah. I also realized that being feminine means have more compassion and empathy. I've really realized that since my transition and since, meeting so many people, male, female, I've realized that in general, again, there are men who are very empathetic and compassionate, but in general, sometimes the sense of understanding I really miss in men sometimes.
Yeah. There's definitely plenty of women out there who have a lack of empathy and passion.
Of course.
But like you say, we're generalizing.
If we're generalizing, yeah. So you founded Wow Galz, which is a makeup company that focuses on transformation, feminization, transformations. What made you start that?
Yeah, so I actually kind of started by accident. I've been a makeup artist for 15 years, and throughout my makeup career, I've always had quite a big portion of my clients be trans women, cross-dressers, and everyone in between. We both spoke about earlier how we used to work for La Masca, which is a makeup brand. Their tagline for a long time was "Make up your alter ego," and they were really about championing when they first started, they were about championing like self-expression through makeup and stuff. So when I was working on that counter, we used to have a lot of clients who were either trans or cross-dressers or whatever. And so I'd like developed this little core unit of clients who I would do feminization makeup for. And when I left when I left Ilamasca and working in Selfridges, I went freelance and was working in a makeup studio, just doing makeup at the weekend. And a lot of those clients followed me and came with me there. And at the same time, because that kind of makeup was very like weekend focused. I had like a lot of free time in the weekdays, so I was like, what can I do with myself? And I did work in a makeup school for a while, teaching makeup, and then that kind of dried up. So again, I was like, what am I going to do? And I went through, this is probably about 2018, I went through this period of feeling really disenfranchised with the makeup industry, and it felt really like vapid and like empty, and like it almost felt like everyone I was doing makeup for was a little bit ungrateful about it. Not that I expect everyone I do makeup for to be like, thank you so much, you changed my life, but still it was very kind of like, all right, cool, that's great.
Are you talking about the department store?
This is just in general. When I was so I was doing a whole bunch of different stuff at the time. I was doing weddings, I was doing makeup in a salon, I was doing makeup school, and I was doing some of my feminization makeup at the time too. But to be honest with you, in like 2018, I was ready to sack in doing makeup completely. And I spoke to a friend of mine at the time who she's really, really intelligent, incredible woman, and we were talking about me maybe going down the psychotherapy route and becoming like a counselor and doing some talking therapy with people, because I thought I'd quite like to be able to help people. And she said, it would be such a shame for you to stop doing makeup because you're very good at it. Thanks. Could you maybe find something where you could combine both things, combine like your passion for helping people and your love of makeup? So I was like, I guess so. But I kind of put that in the back of my head and thought maybe. But also at the same time, I had some friends who said, you should maybe try opening a dressing service. And I was like, I'm not really interested in doing that. Sounds like a lot of faff, like having to get clothes and everything. But I kind of needed a job at the time because I was literally just doing makeup at the weekend. So I was like, right, well, we'll give that a go, see how we go with it. And the guy who I was dating at the time, I did a photo shoot with him. I bought a wig and I bought a little dressing gown from Primark and took some photos of him in them. And I posted them on Twitter and on Instagram, and I had clients straight away booking in. And I was like, shit, there's something here. There's like a real need for it. So I thought, right, well, let's roll with this, see what happens. And I very quickly realized that people really needed it. And I was like, oh. And I remember that conversation that I had with my friend where she said, if you could find something where you were helping people and doing makeup at the same time. I was like, I realized that that's what it was. So I kind of took it a bit more seriously, and I pulled my socks up a little bit and gave myself like a brand name and everything.
Nice.
And that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah. What drew you to like makeup in the first place? Like,
oh, I've always loved it.
Yeah.
I always, from like when I was really, really young. My like I mentioned, I've got 2 older sisters, and the eldest, she was quite into makeup when she was younger. She's not really anymore, but she went and did like a makeup course. And watching her do the makeup course, she'd come home and she'd be like, this is what we did today. And I was like, oh, it was just like fascinated by like the colour and the sparkle and the glamour of it all. And to be fair, even when I was really young, like my dad used to buy me those like scar kits. So you could make like bruises or like scars and things. And I loved that. I thought that was really cool. And when I first started getting into makeup and thinking about doing it as a job, I was like, well, maybe I could do special effects. And but then I learned that it was a bit more of a boys' world. I think it's changed nowadays, but back then it was very, very much a boys' world, and that put me off a little bit. And then as I got into drag, because I did drag when I was younger.
We have so much in common.
I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is a bit more interesting, because it was a bit more cool and interesting and like the glitz and sparkle of it all, rather than just like ugly and things like that. But I do still quite like the gross stuff as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's what kind of got me started in makeup first. And I was that kid who, when we'd go to like what they called like a careers day in school, they're like, what do you want to do for your job? I was like, oh, don't know. So I think I want to do makeup. We can't do makeup. I'm like, right, okay. So then every week I had like a different job. Once at one point I wanted to be a pilot, then I wanted to have a sandwich shop, and then I wanted to own a juggling shop. I had all these different jobs, but under all of that, I just wanted to do makeup. I just wanted to do makeup, but I was always told that, well, you can't do that. It's not a real job. And thankfully, the world's changed now, and people realise that it is a real job.
Yeah. So when you opened Wow Galz, did you open it with the intention of doing makeup for trans people, help them feminize their face, or cross-dressers who wanted to feel feminine for the day, or show them little tips and tricks, how to contour, how to enhance their features?
So when I first started Wow Galz, my sole intention with it really was for it to run as something known as a dressing service. So historically, a dressing service has been a place where cross-dressers go and basically, in really like layman's terms, they get to be a lady for the day.
Yeah.
So, and historically, there's been a bit of like a backdoor, kind of like knock twice and ask for Barbara, like seedy nature to it. And I wanted to help change that a little bit. And so when I first started doing it, I was like, well, let's sort of make this a bit more light and fun, rather than kind of seedy and gross and sexual. But I did think, again, when I first started, it's going to be, I'm going to get some weirdos, and I'm going to get some people that are really strange and make it all really sexual, and I don't. I've been really pleasantly surprised by how many people that come to me that aren't making it like a fetish, and they're coming and they actually just want to feel feminine, and they just want to feel beautiful, and then
genuine interest.
Yeah, totally. And I think that really what my service provides is an opportunity and a space for people to come and have that like oppressive weight of masculinity taken off their shoulders. And so when I first started doing it, really it was with cross-dressers in mind, because I thought, oh, most people who are transitioning aren't going to want to come to something like this because of the like kind of like historical like association that it has. But as I started doing it more and more, and I realized actually there is a space here for people who are transitioning as well. And now I'm kind of like trying to champion that a little bit more and again help change people's mindset over the idea of like a dressing service being just something that cross-dressers do, because it really isn't. And actually my business, I don't really focus on the clothes as much. It's more about like the whole package. And it's about like you said, helping people with makeup, helping people feminize themselves. And whether someone's at the start of their transition and they are completely and utterly clueless, or someone's quite far in and they're like, girl, I'm just really struggling to put eyelashes on, or something like that. Or even if, I get some people who come down and they just want to sit and talk. And
safe space. Someone who understands, someone who's been in their shoes.
Completely.
Do you advertise that you are trans so they feel safer, or they don't know it at all?
I think so. I think people are aware.
I feel like if I was a cross-dresser or if I was a trans woman beginning her journey, I think I would find it really calming and affirming. Know that there is someone who
has been through everything,
is trans as well, and I don't have to feel intimidated.
Totally.
What would you say is the ratio of cross-dressers and trans women in your studio?
So I think before answering that question, just if anyone's watching, they don't know, I think we should explain the terms, the difference between the terms of so again, this is my understanding of the terms. Like a cross-dresser would be someone who is a cisgender man who does not want to transition, but enjoys presenting in a feminine way from time to time. And then a trans woman would be someone who is transitioning and wants to live full time as a woman. Obviously, there is, like, if that's like a sliding scale, there's points in the middle as well. And so it's hard really to give like a percentage, but I would definitely say the bigger percentage is the cross-dressers. But I'm seeing more and more people who want to transition coming to me, which I love, because it's really nice and it's really lovely, like getting to watch people's journeys and stuff. But I would definitely say like the vast majority of my clients are straight guys who want to come down and
just feel good for the day.
And just feel feminine. And like our society has such strict ideas of what femininity and masculinity are, and it's really stupid. And it's almost comical really when I start talking about how I want to deconstruct that, but then also what I'm kind of reinforcing it in a sense, because people are coming down and I'm saying, right, well, don't live to the masculine standards, let's do the feminine standards of like heightened femininity. But I think that people aren't going to want to come down and just sit in jeans and a nice top like most of us wear every day. Like we walk around in our slacks. I think like most women don't present in this like hyper feminine, hyper glam way. But obviously if you want to escape something, if you want to escape that masculinity, you kind of want to go full force into it and experience like this ultimate levels of like glamour and femme. And I think that's what most people are coming down and doing.
I'm laughing because I've remembered myself in the beginning of my transition, and I remember going home for Christmas for the first time as a woman, and I remember I was wearing stilettos in the kitchen because I was so scared people would, like, my family would misgender me. So I had this full glam, lashes, curly hair, dress, and everyone was just in their PJs, and I was just like this glamorous diva in the kitchen because I was like, I'm a woman, please don't mess up my name. You know, because it's really lots of pressure, especially first time going home for Christmas as a girl. So I really understand the escape and going extra feminine, extra glam. As you said, like, it's something that not really like natural people don't do on everyday basis. But again, as an escape, it's so gender affirming.
Totally.
To feel great for a few hours and you know, with lots of contour, heavy contour, using Kryolan makeup, you know.
Literally.
Kryolan is a theater brand which really contours and covers everything. So I understand why they do
totally.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember going to my first laser hair removal appointment with like thigh-high boots on. I had this really like cute dress on. I had my wig with like my hair down to my ass, like thigh-high boots and everything. And now I just turn up in pretty much my pajamas.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I think like, you know, when you're in those early transition days, it is very much like, okay, well, if I do this, and this, that's the thing that's going to help me pass, or that's the thing that's going to help people like gender me correctly. And yeah.
Yeah. It takes time to get from A to B. And sometimes the point B is always moving in front of you and you're always chasing it.
Yeah, that's
with your
very
feminization. But I would definitely say that I would even say the power of hormones, because sometimes I just feel so feminine even without makeup.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes the hormones do work for themselves.
Yeah.
But sometimes people who can't either afford hormones or can't do hormones for medical reasons or don't want to go, or don't want to choose that path of transition, makeup is really, really helpful and gender affirming. And it really helps you mentally to feel good in your own skin and to feel confident and leave the house and just feel pretty and feel like a woman.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
I really believe in the power of makeup.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
And it's a beautiful thing that you do it, because there's not every trans woman is lucky like you and me. Not every trans woman studied makeup like you and me.
Yep.
And they have no idea about makeup because, you know, not all trans women are into makeup and they are not artisty. And, artisty. So some trans women have no clue about makeup. And I think it's so important to have a service that is there for them, to teach them how to, you know, once they leave your studio, your business, and they go home, they know what to do for their face. They know what to apply. They have the know-how. They know tips and tricks. And then they can practice it and do it every single day at home. They can improve.
Totally.
And I love it about that.
Yeah, it's awesome. You're right. You're totally right. It can be so gender affirming and empowering. And I think that even like, you know, cis women do the same thing. You know, cis women take so much power in that kind of like, it's almost like wearing battle armor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a reason that lots of cis women love makeup, you know? If you ask them why, they will tell you exactly the same thing as trans women.
Yeah, literally.
Wanna
Especially,
feel pretty,
I mean,
want to feel feminine.
I live in Manchester. You should see the girls in Manchester. They are glam as hell. And it's basically they're walking down the high street looking like drag queens, and I absolutely live for it.
Yeah,
It's
amazing. Similar to Liverpool.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
when I
yeah,
was in Liverpool, I had a culture shock.
Yeah.
In a good way. In a good way.
Big rollers.
Big rollers.
Yeah,
Saturday afternoon.
in your
rollers,
pajamas.
In your PJs. Shopping. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen this in my life.
It's awesome.
I loved it. What was the biggest transformation that you've ever seen in someone?
Like through my job?
Yes.
Oh, that's a hard question to ask because you could look at it from two different angles, and I'm going to give you from two different angles.
Yes, please.
The first one I actually did last week. And that was my friend Anton, who I mentioned. Now, Anton went from being this skinny little gay boy in Belfast. Literally, you could get your hands around his waist. It was tiny. And now he's this big, bulky, muscly boy. He's done his own little transition into a big hot dilf. And we used to do drag together years and years and years ago. And I said to him, I was like, I really want to do your makeup again and make you over. So we did it last week, just literally for fun. And he looked incredible. He's got a really pretty face, but now it's like this big, huge, like square jaw, big muscly arms. And when I did him up, he looked so different. And it was so funny because that femininity that I've actually not seen in him for a very long time, it came straight back out. Yeah, he was like, put this song on, put that song on, and he was like stressing up and down the studio. And I think of like physically, from going from like this big buff, like, you know, hench guy to this like beautiful, sexy, like MILF. He went from DILF to MILF.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest physical transformation. I think like I've seen quite a few of my clients who have transitioned, and I can think of one person, I'll not say her name, but when she first came to see me, she was really shy, really quiet, but like such a sweetheart. And I think at that time she was identifying as a cross-dresser. And then like a year later, she came back to see me again. And she's like, I think I might be trans. I'm like, okay. So we had like lots of lovely conversations about that. And then she came to see me again like the following year. And at that point, she's like, she's got long hair, she's transitioned socially and through work and everything. And that was the most gorgeous little like, because like seeing a little snapshot of her life every couple of years. And
must be very like rewarding as well.
So rewarding.
That you helped her on her journey.
Totally. And like from like the early beginnings and then like to now she's thriving. It was really, really, really lovely.
That's beautiful.
To see.
That sounds really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's getting me emotional. Like it's just so beautiful. Like it just must be so like it must be so rewarding for you to see their progress.
Yeah.
And have this beautiful feeling that you help someone and almost like building up friendship as well with them.
Yeah, totally.
And it's beautiful. Also, one thing you mentioned with your friend that you did makeup for last week. When he said when he said put his music on and like completely different character. That reminded me of what RuPaul said, that like he wishes that every man would try to be in drag at least once for a day and see what comes out. Your outer ego, your different persona. I think it's so powerful, not just like makeup, but dressing up. Try something new. Make fun of yourself a little bit,
But it goes back to what we were saying earlier about femininity being like almost like permission giving to be free with yourself. And when you adopt, like when you have all these different outfits and clothes and hair and makeup and everything, and you look at yourself and you're like, who is that person? For a lot of people, like you say, it can be really empowering. And for a lot of people, it can work on the flip side. You look at drag kings as well, and people who like dress up and like who adopt like more of a masculine.
Can you explain
role.
what drag king is?
Drag king is like the opposite of a drag queen, basically. It's generally like women who are dressing up like a man for like theatrical purposes. But I guess like anyone could be a drag queen, so I guess anyone could be a drag king as well.
100%.
But yeah, it's that a bit like dressing up thing. It's like, but even when we were kids and you go into the dressing up box and you put like some funny glasses and like a funny wig on and everything, and all of a sudden like you can adopt a new character. It's really,
I've noticed that when we have when I go out to dress up parties or theme parties and there's a theme, so even when the man or woman are not dressing up in the opposite gender, even if you just dress up and make fun of yourself, the atmosphere is just lighter, the energy is lighter in the room, people are happier, they behave crazier, sillier. I love that. I love what a stupid dress up party or theme party with different clothes or something that you would never ever normally do for yourself can change mentally in your head for you.
Have you seen this new trend that people are doing where they are, there's a name for it, but I can't remember what it's called. It's almost like to get over anxiety, people are going out the house dressed in really stupid things. Like there was this girl and she literally, I shared it to some of my friends, like I want to do this.
Like a big banana and stuff?
Or
a frog?
Yeah, and then she had to put a ketchup on her face.
Oh, right.
And then one day she went to the shop with like goggles on, and then she went like she went to the gym dressed as a hot dog, and just doing stupid things like that to remind yourself that this is all stupid.
Yes.
And like all this, hello, everything is fake.
Yeah.
And
it's all illusion.
It's all illusion.
I always say that it's all illusion. Whatever we do, it's all illusion. It's illusion for us to feel something.
Yeah.
Without transition. It's illusion for someone.
Yeah.
It's illusion for society. It's all illusion, and we all play the game.
Yeah, we all play the game. And so things like that going out the house with ketchup on your face.
Yeah.
It kind of breaks you out of that.
Yeah.
And
like it's not that serious. Right?
Do you know the analogy of like the great and powerful Wizard of Oz? Mm-hmm. And there's like the whole idea of the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And I like to use this quite a lot. And I will refer to some people as being, like, you're a person who's seen behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. And because for those very few of you who haven't seen the Wizard of Oz, the idea is that everyone's like terrified or like looks up to the great and powerful Wizard of Oz, and they get there and he's big smoke and like, I am blah, blah, blah. And then actually it's this anxious little man pulling all these levers and like cogs and everything, who's like panicking behind the curtain. And it's when you have that moment like Dorothy does of seeing behind the curtain, she's like, oh, this is all fake. Mm-hmm. This is all not real. Mm-hmm. This is all made up. Yeah. And I think that when you have that realization, and like I'd say 80% of the people, although I think it's changing, and I think a lot more people are waking up to the idea of it now, that this is all bullshit. Mm. You can like kind of like navigate the world, I think, a little bit better with that knowledge that let's just have a bit of fun. Yeah. You know.
Is there something that your clients teach you about yourself?
Oh, that is a good question. I actually think that my clients helped me to learn more about my transness, because I started my business pre-transition, and it was through talking to so many people about their journeys and their transness. And to be fair, before I started my job, before I started my business, I knew loads of trans people. I dated a trans girl for 4 years. I had like my best friends were trans. It's not like I hadn't met trans people before, but it was having like more conversations with more people that I kind of thought, oh shit, this is me. Mm-hmm. I feel exactly the same as this person. Mm-hmm. So I think that, and then also in like less of a trans perspective, like a lot of my clients are like high power business people, so they're CEOs or directors of companies. So I've learned a lot of like business stuff. Yeah. And how good I am at like putting that into practice, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I've got a lot better at thinking about things in that kind of way, rather than just let's just have fun and put wigs on.
Yeah. Was there like a really hard moment in the history of your business?
Do you know what? Like
challenging, most challenging stuff. No,
I don't think so. I think honestly, I guess like the whole COVID stuff, but that was challenging for everybody.
Yeah.
So in terms of like my business, it was hard because overnight I wasn't allowed to see any clients. But we got through that, and I think everyone kind of like had their own challenges at that time. The times when it's really hard, this is the answer I probably shouldn't give, but it's the clients who don't talk, and who are really like hard to get conversation
like
out
you don't get
of.
The feedback.
Yeah,
it's hard to find out what
I've got to spend 8 hours with this person. You're not saying anything to me, and I'm asking you questions, and you're just going, yeah. And I get that for a lot of people, it's
maybe they're shy.
It's shyness, it's anxiety, and I take so much pride, and in those people that like they turn up really quiet and shy and nervous, and by the end of the day we're having full-blown conversations. Yeah. Some people just, I can't. Right. And that's just their personality. Yeah. And they can't help that. Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah. It's not really that challenging.
But I guess it is challenging if you, as you said, like if you 8 hours, it's a long time to kind of just keep speaking. I hope we have some music in there.
Yeah. Like, I'm just going to put this podcast on.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Let's just transcribe next time.
Yeah. Yes, we will do. Have you heard this podcast? Yeah, so I guess like things like that can be a bit challenging. And the conversations that I do have with people, you know, we talk about everything, you know, when people come down to me, and I'm always open to have conversations with people. And I find more often than not, everyone that comes in for the first time, if I'm meeting them, I'm like, come and sit down on the sofa, let's chat. I need to find things about you. And some people will just launch into this like spiel because they've never spoken to someone about it before. And it is like therapy, and I really enjoy it. I really, really love hearing those stories and talking to people, but sometimes it's hard. Yeah. I've cried with people before. You know, I've cried because I've been going through difficult stuff. They've cried because we've both cried, and then we have a big hug, and it's really beautiful and emotional. But so I guess people talking too much is harder than people not talking enough.
Yeah.
So they're probably the more challenging aspects of my job. Whereas like the makeup, the hair, the clothes, the pictures, all that kind of stuff is just fluff.
Yeah.
It's nothing really. It's just the conduit. It's the medium in which we lubricate ourselves into femininity. And really, at the end of it all, what we're actually really trying to do is just have a good conversation and like learn more about each other and ourselves, I think.
Beautiful.
So
Last question before we go on Patreon.
Okay.
Where can people find you?
They can find me everywhere. I'm on most platforms as I've got my own personal things are Patti Baston, PattiBaston. And then everything else is...
And that's your transformation.
That's just me.
That's you.
And then my business is Patti's Wow Galz. PattisWowGals. I don't know why I'm spelling them.
It's like Wow Galz, like GALS.
Yeah,
right?
not girls.
Yeah.
Which, funnily
Wow
enough,
Galz.
when I first set up the business, I didn't realise, but Wow Galz used to be a term in porn. So at first,
really,
when I was set up the website and changed the name of my business, my dad messaged me saying, like, have you Googled Wow Galz?
Oh my God.
And I was like, no, why? I did. Oh, but thankfully, I've ranked up. I've gone up on the thing now, so I beat them.
So you come first, and
yes,
it's a makeup
first.
transformation industry.
Yeah, and then my website is just wowgals.co.uk, so you can find me there and send me a little email. Get in touch with me through there.
Amazing. Well, Patti, thank you so much for being on Transcrash here today. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing your expertise from your work and your life. I really, really appreciate it, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
And yeah, I just feel like I'm really sitting across someone who's really grounded and intelligent, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. That's very kind. I feel very much the same about you. I think you're a very talented, very beautiful, and really, really friendly and lovely person. So thank you so much for having me on this wonderful podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, for listening. And don't forget that on Patreon, me and Patti going to talk about her private and dating life, and we're going to find out what's her side hustle. Well, in the meantime, I might see you there, or I'll see you next Thursday as every Thursday. And remember, so much realness, it will make you blush every Thursday on Transcrash. Take care.
And then he was like, just trying to carry on like normal. And he was like, you okay? I said, no, actually, I'm not okay.
No.
I'm not okay. I cannot believe you've just said that to me.
I hate when they say that.
I was like, what?
He said to you. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I can't do this. Like, I actually came over to tell you that I don't want to see you again.
Do you have some like horror stories from dating?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find that like a lot of guys would swipe.
They don't read the bio.
And they don't, and then they match, and then you go, hi, have you read my bio? And then they unmatch.
Yes.
And before I started hormones as well, because like, you know what it's like, you start those hormones and you like your interest in sex goes down a little bit for some of us.
Yeah.
And mine certainly did. Being attracted to femininity and how much men have like, well, not just men, but people have like an insatiable desire for trans people and trans women in particular.